So there's no lore video today. Instead, I'll be talking about Better Call Saul and its mid-season finale. Now, I don't know what's up with shows, I mean, at least good ones, and having these split final seasons. I mean, look, Ozark did it, and I might make a whole video about how I feel about the ending of that show. The Sopranos did it, Breaking Bad did it, so there's the precedent for it there. But anyway, lots of shows always seem to do this with their final season. I mean, Stranger Things is doing something weird. I think their season, I don't even know if it's their final season, but it's split like 7 episodes and then 2 episodes, which is just dumb. But we're not here to talk about that. We're talking about Better Call Saul, the prequel slash spin-off of Breaking Bad, a show that pretty much everybody loves. I mean, I grew up watching it. I was a kid when it was coming out, and I started watching it, I think, in the middle of season 2. I want to say I was like 12 or something like that, but I instantly got into it because it was the dad from Malcolm in the Middle who was great, and now he's playing this crazy, well, not crazy at first, but this teacher who turns into a meth cook and all that. It was definitely dope to watch at the time. But when I was a kid, Saul was my favorite character, so I was pretty hyped when they announced the prequel and it being about Saul and Mike. Mike's another character I liked a lot, and I felt that they didn't give us enough of. And even Gus. Gus is another one. They didn't initially promise that Gus would be in it, but once he appeared, I mean, shit, it's just great to see these great characters again. And I'm basically going to be talking about the Season 6, Episode 7, Plan and Execution. There's going to be lots of spoilers, so obviously if you haven't seen the episode, you might not want to watch this. Instead, I suggest watching one of Eridan's lore videos. That dude's pretty dope. Or if something else, maybe watch some Ordinary Gamers roast on the Halo show. That was pretty funny. But yeah, if you're not interested in spoilers, definitely take your viewing pleasure elsewhere. But if you are interested in spoilers, or if you've seen the final episode, then we're going to go over it. And I'm going to give my thoughts on it and possibly predictions for the next half of the season. Episode starts with Lalo, who's now back in America, and he's hiding out in this little crawl space watching Gus's lab from across the street. Looks a little bit like It, when how he's looking through his little mini binoculars from the sewer drainage thing. But the episode name is definitely referring to their Jimmy and Kim's plan to basically ruin Howard, and the execution we'll get into later. But the last episode ended with Kim basically gonna go get her dream job and then flipping a bitch to go join Jimmy in fixing the scheme after they saw that the mediator had a broken arm and they needed to retake all the pictures they were going to use for the grift, or the scheme job. Jimmy, or rather Saul, once again tells Kim that, if you hurry back, you could still make your lunch and still maybe get that job you wanted. And she tells him, no, this is where I want to be. And Jimmy kind of looks at her a little disappointed and looks down, but then goes immediately back to, fixing the grift. They manage to get all that done just in the nick of time, and Jimmy hands off the envelope full of the pictures to Howard's PI, and now we go back to Lalo. Now, Lalo then calls Hector, who's at the retirement home, but the line's taking a really interestingly long time to connect, and I believe he hears it click a couple times. He basically deduces rather quickly that the phone at the retirement home is bugged, and then hangs up quickly and has a little hissy fit afterwards. This is one of those things about Lalo that he's sort of all-knowing at times, and his plot armor is kind of blatantly obvious. I mean, we know he's probably not going to make it through the show, but we'll get into that more later. He sees a cockroach and is instantly reminded of Saul, who he referred to as a cockroach last season after he was basically missing in the desert with Lalo's bail money. He then calls Hector again and waits for the line to actually connect, and says he's going to go attack Fring's lab on his own, setting up a misdirect. Hector doesn't know this, so he throws a hissy fit of his own, ringing his bell a bunch of times before Lalo just hangs up. Lalo's plan here is that he knows that Mike and Gus are listening in on the phone call, so he wants to draw all of their manpower to go protect Gus or protect the lab. Meanwhile, the low-level targets are basically unguarded, people like Saul and Kim. Now, I'm not exactly sure what Lalo's plan is for Saul, but I definitely have a couple of ideas. Or rather, not really his plan for Saul, but why he wants to talk to him. I think it could have something to do with what went down in the desert when Mike saved Saul's ass. Lalo went to go inspect everything to see exactly what happened, and he found Jimmy's car. He probably just wants to find out exactly what went down in the desert. Or maybe he wants to use Jimmy as some kind of bait. It's really tough to say. Or maybe Kim. I don't really have too much thoughts on that, but I mean, we'll get to those towards the end. I do kind of think that Lalo is sometimes a little too smart and a little too capable, He's written to be almost unstoppable, but It's not that big of a deal, I guess, when it comes down to it. He's still a pretty interesting guy, and I think the guy who plays him does a great job. He was even great in Hawkeye, which was a show that I found really hit or miss. Anyway, moving on. The Fall of Howard Hamlin, and unfortunately it's just as hard to watch as when Walt flirted with his boss in that episode of Breaking Bad. I don't want to over-explain this scene too much, but it was really, it's a really great scene. Basically, they set it up so Howard just looks like he's insane and on drugs and crazy in front of everybody, and he basically tanks the whole case they had because of it, and now no one, sees him as credible or thinks he's got it all together. I mean, the one guy said, our best to Howard, and unfortunately that doesn't do shit, as we see in the end of the episode, but we'll get to that point when we get to it. There's an interesting part of the episode, though, where before the arbitration or whatever it is, that I think one of their servants, or rather interns, is restocking a fridge with sodas, and he drops a bunch of them. And basically Howard shows him the old, where you tap the top of the can. And he says, oh yeah, my mentor Chuck used to do that all the time. It's just pretty funny. Obviously, Jimmy must have pranked Chuck with that can trick a million times, to the point where Chuck has now done it to every single can before opening it, and now passed that habit down to Howard as well. They say, be prepared for anything, but Jesus Christ, it's really indicative of how many times Jimmy had pranked Chuck, or just how much Chuck liked to overblow everything. It's really how you interpret it. I don't want to over recap the scene because it's really good, but basically Howard wrecks himself, and all the while Jimmy and Kim are listening in on the phone on the other end while this is happening, and they're pretty much banging, showing that, they quite literally are getting off to what's happening to Howard, which is, pretty bad. I mean, it's pretty fucked up. I'm pretty forgiving when it comes to what these fictional characters do in TV shows, but man, that one really just, it stung because, Howard seemed like such a genuine guy, and even in the end, even when him and Jimmy were arguing, he was still pretty polite, and he set up that whole boxing match and everything. It's just a damn shame, but great TV. And now to the ending. Now, in the final scene of the episode, Jimmy and Kim are basically celebrating watching a movie called Born Yesterday on TV when Howard shows up. Howard basically, he says, you've won, Jimmy. You really ruined me this time. I'll bounce back, but you really ruined me. He pours some Macallan for himself and rants at them, basically telling them they have no souls, and that Jimmy, Jimmy can't help it, that he's always been this way, and, he's too cowardly to admit it, that he ruined Kim and all this. But then he says, Kim, you're just as bad. You're soulless too. You're the smartest person I know, and you would just do this for what? Just because you guys get off to it? And he basically, everything Howard says is pretty much true to them. Like, he basically is 100% right to be this mad, and everything he's saying is true. They really shouldn't have done this to him. It was pretty fucked up. I mean, like, what was it for? Just to ruin him for the fuck of it? But anyway, the candle flickers once, and I'm like, what is this? Paranormal activity? What is this? Some kind of a demon? And Howard continues ranting, but then you see this horrified expression on Saul's face, and Bob Odenkirk is great. I mean, the dude's great in everything. Have you seen Nobody? That's a badass movie. Even in Fargo, when he was playing a super inept cop, he was still likable. But why are they horrified? Of course, because Lalo's there. And of course, the candle flickers again before he shows up, again indicating, is Lalo the evil spirit, or is he the demon? What's going on here? I mean, he certainly is got the plot armor of a demon. I mean, I like Lalo and everything, as I already said, but this guy is written like Batman with prep time on like a comic vine forum or something. Like, he's unstoppable. To the point where when he finally does get taken out, like, they better make it like earned, because they've just depicted him as just this unstoppable force that just can't be killed. I mean, he's more like a cockroach than Jimmy. Anyway, though, he walks in, and Kim and Jimmy are instantly trying to get Howard to leave. They're like, dude, get the fuck out of here, please. Like, I don't want the Lalo kills Howard theory to come true. Get the fuck out of here, please. Lalo says, no, continue, and I'm just here to speak to my lawyers. Howard retorts, you should get better lawyers. And shortly after, Lalo takes out a pistol, screws on the silencer. Howard's like, oh shit, I think I'm in the middle of something, huh? And before he can do anything else, he gets fucking capped in the head and splattered all over the fucking place. And then he tells Jimmy and Kim, oh, well, we need to talk. And that's it. That's really all we get until July. I can blame AMC all I want for splitting the season in half, because I guess they never intended to have a split season anyway, but AMC, they're like, we made a lot of money off that when we did it to Breaking Bad, so we're going to do that again. So do that again for us, please. I mean, I'm not complaining. I love the show and everything. I still need to see how it ends. I need to see if Gene gets a happy ending. And does Gene deserve a happy ending? A lot of people say. I'm tired of shows, especially moralizing with me when it comes to my protagonist. Why can't a guy who's done a little bit of bad and a little bit of good just get off easy and have a happy life in the end? Why is that so bad? I mean, Saul, as far as it comes to most of these characters in Breaking Bad, he hasn't killed anybody that we know of. Sure, he offers to help facilitate murder often in Breaking Bad, but again, he's probably the least evil out of most of these characters. He's even less evil than Kim now. I mean, come on now. Why doesn't he deserve a happy ending? And who cares about deserve? People in real life who don't deserve happy endings get happy endings all the time. So, I mean, and you know, I'm not just talking about at massage parlors. But I still want to see how Saul gets the black book from the vet that we saw when his office was either being cleaned out or raided. Or it was more like his house, I think, at the beginning of the season in the whole opening montage. Instead of getting a Gene clip this year, we got that, which was fine, but it set the wheels in motion for a lot of theorizing for some people. I mean, there's the cork from Ken Wins, or not really from Ken Wins, but Jimmy and Kim hustled the Ken Wins guy from Breaking Bad to buy a super expensive bottle of tequila, and afterwards they give the cork, which is like a pineapple looking thing, to Kim. Now, it's either pineapple or agave. I'm bad with that kind of shit, but, you know, don't crucify me over it. But either way, it's shown in that opening montage of Saul's possessions being rummaged through and cataloged. So it's safe to assume maybe that Kim survived. I also saw some videos saying that the golden toilet was also Kim's. But then you got all these people saying, oh, what about the pink thong? Kim would never be caught dead in this. And like they know the mind of a fictional character. I mean, obviously, Kim is going through some changes currently in the show. I mean, she's definitely went from the super nice, you know, would never fuck over somebody lawyer to being just as bad or possibly worse than Jimmy is, which, I mean, I still love her as a character, but she definitely is going a little on the evil side. Not as evil as like Wendy from Ozark, to where it's just like Wendy became this cartoon character, but she's definitely showing a bit of a ruthless streak when it comes to how she fucked over Howard and how determined she was to go through it. I mean, several times through this season, Jimmy has tried to call it off, but every single time Kim pushes him to go through with it. I think what it is that Jimmy knows he's kind of using Howard as an outlet for his hatred of Chuck, because Chuck's gone now, so all he has is Howard to take it out on. But he knows this, and he kind of feels bad about it at the same time. That's why he constantly is just kind of trying to get out of it. And even when Howard confronts them at the end, he sort of almost admits guilt by saying, oh, you'll bounce back, Howard. You've been through, you know, stuff like this before. And then when Howard says, oh, my wife, you know, my marriage is ruined. My wife's got me sleeping in the guest house for the past year. Jimmy once again looks kind of distraught and saddened. And he even looks over at Kim, who kind of shoots him a similar look back. And he's like, fuck, man. You're like, I'm fucking over this guy. I'm literally like ruining this guy's life, or attempting to, when he's got it pretty bad under the surface. Like, I think he's got it all together because look how he presents himself, like some kind of fancy lawyer man. But he really doesn't. And it's just, man, the whole thing just made me so sad. Like, he even says, like, I'm going to dedicate my whole life to, you know, getting you back for this. And in a way, he does. You know, he just didn't know that the rest of his life was only going to be like a couple minutes before getting splattered all over the floor. And now it's just going to look like he committed suicide. Like, he's going to have a tarnished reputation in death. The last memory anybody has of him who saw him was him being crazy and seemingly drug-addled. It's just a fucking tragedy for him, man. Really sad. Which brings me to that episode, I think it was last week, where it showed Howard at home make that whole mocha latte thing for his wife with the peace sign, and she just glosses it over and then pours it into a thermos. That shit crushed me. I was like, God, man, I fucking feel you, dude. I'm sorry. I wish I could help the guy out, man, and he's a fictional character. And then he got capped. I never thought I would like a seemingly douchey lawyer character in a show, but man, they just made him seem so likable. Lalo, on the other hand, man, again, like I already said earlier, he's just written to be too competent. I mean, even Gus made mistakes, and obviously the other Salamancas we've seen are pretty much just caricatures and, for the most part, glorified muscle or crazy meth heads, you know what I mean? Like, I mean, I'm still mad that they killed off Nacho. I wanted to see him sort of be like the Jesse and kind of escape, but I guess they didn't want to retread old ground, and they just had to have Nacho die. But God damn it, like, Mike just can't catch a break. Everybody he tries to help, they end up dying, except for Jesse in the long run. But still, man, And I also wanted to say Nacho's death is sort of like the opposite of Howard's, because Howard gets clipped super abruptly and, it's no lead up really to it. I guess there's a little bit of lead up. Meanwhile, Nacho had to have this whole speech and he kind of basically got free and then killed himself. He, in a way, died on his own terms, and Howard basically had a lot of living to go. He was even positive about all of it. He was like, I'm going to bounce back. I've bounced back from worse. But no, it all gets cut short because Lalo, the fucking... I don't know, man. It just... great episode, obviously. Great cliffhanger to leave it on. I can only help but wonder what these last 6 episodes are going to be. I was hoping that at least, a couple of these last episodes would be an entire episode with Gene, since we've only ever had like 5 or 10 minutes per season. And this season, we haven't had any of them yet, so... I'm hoping they're at least doing a couple episodes with all Gene. I want to see Gene or Saul or Jimmy get at least somewhat of a happy ending. I think Kim's still alive. I think maybe they might end it to where Kim comes down the stairs and is like, "Oh, you watching an old commercial?" I mean, I know that would be corny as a motherfucker, like super corny, but at the same time, I want nothing less for Saul. I don't want him to have a bittersweet ending. I want him to solve whatever problem he's got as Gene, and then accept that, I don't need to live in hiding anymore. Everybody who knew Heisenberg is dead. I don't think he put any fail-safe hits out on me. I think I'm good, Lydia's dead, Todd's dead, Jesse's gone. I don't know. I just wanted to see Saul have a happy ending, and those are pretty much all my thoughts. I probably have other thoughts, but that's everything off the top of my head. I wanted to do this video way earlier, but I had a bunch of shit I had to do, and people kept coming over, but it's not really a big deal. I mean, if you stuck through this whole video with me, I appreciate it. I'm pretty stoned and kind of rambly. If you liked the video, please like it. If you disliked it, dislike it. If you like my videos in general, I would say consider subscribing. I always hated when YouTubers said that kind of shit in videos, but that's mainly why I ask it in the most least annoying way possible and at the end of the video instead of at the beginning, because you got all these YouTubers like, "Oh, ring the bell," and more power to them. I'm not trying to hate on them or anything. I just always find it super annoying. But anyway, you guys have a good one. I'll have a lore video. The next 2 lore videos, I believe, are Mausoleum Soldiers and, Deathbirds and shit like that. And, of course, the one I've been working on for a while is the Nox. Then after that, we've got Renala, Rykard. I've got a bunch of videos of Elden Ring lore coming. But I'll see you next time. Stay tuned. See ya.